China slams Taiwan's leader as a prostitute for courting Trump. Beijing's warships circle the island and nearly all of Taiwan's energy comes by sea. A blockade could black out electricity in days, leaving the island on the brink. The question, will the US step in or watch from afar? China has launched a sharp verbal attack on Taiwan's President Ching-te, accusing him of prostituting himself to foreign powers in an effort to win their favour. The statement came after Lai praised US President Donald Trump in a recent interview.
He has engaged in unprincipled foreign pandering and bottomless selling out of Taiwan, squandering the flesh and blood of the people, prostituting himself and throwing in his lot with foreign forces. Lai Ching-te and the Taiwan Independence Forces are but ants shaking a tree. They will ultimately be swept into the dustbin of history.
Earlier, in an interview with a conservative US radio show and podcast, Lai suggested that Trump should receive the Nobel Peace Prize if he could persuade Chinese President Xi Jinping to abandon the use of force against Taiwan. Trump and Xi are expected to meet later this month at a regional summit in South Korea.
We hope to continue receiving President Trump's support. Should President Trump persuade Xi Jinping to permanently abandon any military aggression against Taiwan, President Trump would undoubtedly be a Nobel Peace Prize laureate.
Although the United States does not have formal diplomatic ties with Taiwan, it remains the island's most important international backer. Since Trump took office this year, however, no new arms sales to Taiwan have been announced. Some foreign policy experts and observers in Taiwan worry that Trump may not be as committed as previous US presidents to the island's defense and could make concessions to China to secure trade agreements. Asked what he would tell Trump if they were to meet, Lai said he would advise him to pay attention to Xi's actions.
I would advise him to pay particular attention to the fact that Xi Jinping is not only conducting increasingly large-scale military exercises in the Taiwan Strait, but is also expanding military forces in the East China Sea and South China Sea.
Beijing, which considers Taiwan part of its territory, has long been critical of Lai, labelling him a separatist and rejecting his repeated offers for dialogue. Lai maintains that only the people of Taiwan can decide the island's future. China's Taiwan Affairs Office also called Lai's remarks nonsense and accused him of propagating the separatist fallacies of Taiwan independence. The statement comes just 2 days before Lai is set to deliver his key National Day speech. China has previously staged military exercises near Taiwan after similar events, signalling warnings against separatist acts. Lai also warned of China's growing military activities in the region, including large-scale exercises in the Taiwan Strait and expansions in the East and South China Seas. He emphasised that these developments are not only a challenge to Taiwan, but could also affect the United States and the broader rules-based international order.
Even though Taiwan is facing increasing threats from China, Taiwan has not given up on seeking peace and mutual prosperity across the strait. We understand that peace is priceless and that there are no winners in war.
Taiwan's government has not issued an immediate response to the latest Chinese accusations. On the other hand, Chinese military exercises around Taiwan have sparked an urgent effort in Taipei and Washington to address a critical vulnerability on the island. Taiwan is almost entirely dependent on imported fuel. Recent Chinese drills have suggested how China plans to encircle and strangle Taiwan by blocking its life-sustaining shipping lanes, a strategy with potentially less risk than staging a full-scale invasion. As Beijing pursues its stated goal of gaining control of the self-ruled island by force if necessary. The challenge of steeling Taiwan against a blockade starts with energy, in particular the liquefied natural gas used to generate nearly half of Taiwan's electricity. Some 97% of Taiwan's energy is imported by sea. If completely cut off, its LNG inventory would be fully depleted within days, crippling the island's ability to produce electricity. Taiwan's government is increasing energy storage and rethinking the island's energy mix. It is looking anew at nuclear power just months after it shut down its last reactor. But Taiwan's drive for energy self-sufficiency has a long way to go, leaving the island more immediately focused on a US assessment that Chinese leader Xi Jinping wants his military to be ready to seize Taiwan by force by 2027. Two US senators introduced legislation in September that would support Taiwan's ability to secure a reliable supply of American LNG, including providing US insurance for shippers to keep deliveries flowing if the island is threatened. Senator Pete Ricketts said he co-sponsored the legislation with Senator Chris Coons after participating in a war game that showed Taiwan running out of LNG within 11 days in a blockade.
It really highlighted how this could be the Achilles heel of Taiwan.
While Taiwan could temporarily resist a Chinese blockade and briefly sustain its output of power, the island would require US intervention to restore electricity over a longer period, according to the results of a series of war games run by the Washington-based Center for Strategic and International Studies. The experts say that Beijing could subject vessels serving Taiwan to inspection by declaring a law enforcement or health action, allowing Beijing to quietly raise pressure on Taipei. Since a blockade is an act of war against an enemy state, China would call its action something else, such as a quarantine. A Chinese quarantine would then force Taiwan and the US to decide whether to take military action and potentially be accused of starting a war. Craig Singleton, senior China fellow at the FDD, told the Wall Street Journal,
"This is the kind of coercion that flies under the threshold of war, but could still bring Taiwan to its knees."
While China is slowly building towards an imminent siege of Taiwan, Taiwan is looking for global support, especially US's to counter the Asian giant. Will the US stick its neck out and help Taiwan, or would it play safe like it has before, remains to be seen.